Greetings everyone, I'm R. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, I'm continuing my trek through the series Hazbin Hotel, created by VisiPop and produced by Amazon Prime and A24. This is the 8th episode of the first season. This is The Show Must Go On. Now I'm just going to get it out of the way. There is no trivia for this episode, because there wasn't any worthwhile on IMDb, so no trivia, just the episode and the title thing in my notes. But like most of the other episodes, it does have two songs. It's going to have a reprise and then the finale song. Now this is the culmination of everything that has come up in the show thus far. And of course it begins with them doing their final preparations for the battle during Extermination Day the night before. Of course, this is where the cosplay outfit that I use for Sir Pentious comes into it. General Pentious. We see Cherry Bomb is actually going to stay there and fight alongside them, which, even though she's not a resident of the hotel, she's going to help her friends. We see the Husk and everyone else is going to stay there. We see the cannibals are all there and getting ready to fight. Vaggie managed to get a good amount of angelic steel from Carmella, so they got that. They're prepared. And then, of course, it's the typical night before battle banter that you would expect amongst these characters, where Husk and Angel talking at the bar, and Angel's only gonna be drinking that night, no other type of drugs, which Husk finds a bit surprising, but he's like, alright, he is improving as a person. Which, a little bit of the coloration in Husk's face is, I guess, another reason some people start shipping these two, which I don't mind it. And we'll see if it actually turns into that or if it just stays a close friendship, but it's one of those things that we'll see how it develops as the show progresses. Of course, we get a couple more moments between Sir Pentious and Cherry Bomb. There's one moment where he actually goes to try to confess his love to her, but he doesn't get it out. He's too much of a chicken to do it, so he just wishes her good luck in the battle. But he does say that he has always admired her for her explosions and all that. Now, the thing I love about this is that earlier on in the episode, in just a wide shot, you can see him talking to Charlie, and he's looking over by where Cherry is. So it's hinted that he told Charlie what he wants to do. And during the scene where he's trying to confess, you can kind of see Charlie in the background, and her shipping senses seem to be going off. It's nice little background details when you either watch the episode multiple times or do it. It was actually pointed out to me in between, so it was stuff I was looking at. I'm like, oh, interesting. Of course, Alistair and Nifty have a nice little moment where she puts the little roach crown on his head, so it's nice to see them have a nice little tender friendship moment where they laugh maniacally together. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a battle scene without some rallying moments. Of course, Vaggie and Charlie do a little rallying. And then, of course, we see Adam do rallying in his brand new war outfit, where instead of a white and gold outfit, it's a black and gold outfit, so it makes sense. And of course him mentioning, we're gonna kill all the souls there, we're gonna kill Vaggie, and of course everyone's doing their anti-Vaggie things, including Loot, where she's taking it a little too far to the point that even Adam is like, hey, chill. And of course they go through the portal and they charge the hotel, and everyone does their thing. Cherry Bomb's throwing bombs, Angel Dust is firing off Tommy guns, Husk is flying. Whenever an angel gets knocked to the ground, Nifty is doing what Charlie told her to do, and that is stab an angel. Which, of course, when that comes up, the most obvious gag they could think of for the time happens. I'm not going to spoil it here if you haven't seen it, but it still got me a chuckle out of me. And Alistair does his shield thing, and that, of course, leads to his one-on-one fight with Adam. And in this episode, we actually see just how powerful Adam is. Because before this, we've seen his hierarchy, that he is in charge of the exterminators. In the grand scheme of things, he has some say, because it seems like he takes orders directly from Sarah. So there's probably some other angels that are either of equivalent rank, but in a different part of Heaven's hierarchy, or below him. So here, we see that even though he's an angel that was elevated from mortalhood, as God's first man, we see that he actually does have some power. Like, he breaks the shield, he goes one-on-one with Alistair, and while it does seem that the Overlord does give him a little bit of trouble, Adam ends up winning because he breaks Alistair's little microphone staff. And the one thing I like about that is the moment the microphone's broken, radio effect goes away. So him saying fuck this time is funnier. Because not only because it seems a little unexpected, I mean, we've heard characters curse before. I mean, some would say it's a little weird that Charlie does, but she's the princess of hell. Even though her personality is all bubbly and not even the most polite person, every now and then when they're frustrated is going to cuss. It's just weird with Alistair because he does it so rarely compared to everyone else. And of course the last time he said it was when he got into his little tete-a-tete fight with Lucifer. And here he says it, and he's all like, it's like a crap baskets tone, and without the radio effect, it sounds a lot different, even though it's the same type of voice. And he's like, fuck, type tone. And then of course he retreats, and while this whole thing's going on, the V's are all watching this. So Vox, every time something happens, he's all doing this. Then of course when he sees Alistair's staff get broken, he's all like, oh yeah, fuck you, Alistair. And he's the only one that's saying things for the most part. The other two are just watching. Or should I say, Val is watching and Velvet's basically... And of course now Adam is free to continue attacking. This is where we get Serpentius's big moment. He kisses Cherry Bomb, confesses his love to her, which she even admits is kind of hot the way he does it. And then he sacrifices himself by charging with his blimp, so him and the Egg Boys are now gone. Because in the time it takes him to charge up the death ray and charge him, Adam notices like, oh, one blast. He's like, oh, that would be bad. And of course, that really, everyone feels that moment because now one of the principal members of the hotel is gone. But it also pisses off Charlie, and so she goes into her demon mode. And we see Razzle and Dazzle are more than just cute little flying things. They actually can turn into freaking dragons. They charge. One of them immediately gets taken out. And Loot charges, and she and Vaggie go into a little back and forth, which is pretty quick. Now you would expect from the training that Vaggie got that she'd easily take out Loot, but it's a little back and forth, which shows that Loot is highly skilled, as she's Adam's right-hand exterminator. So it would make sense that she would, in their original one, really take out Vaggie, but now it would be a bit more even since Vaggie knows about the weakness in their fighting style, which is not really brought up in dialogue, although them being able to be hurt by the weapons is early on, around the time that, the whole shield joke happens. And of course, while they're fighting, Charlie's fighting Adam, and this is where you really see the difference in them. While they might be comparable power-wise, which some people are going to say that's debatable, which yeah, but I go with it because of the fact that even though Adam might be an angel that was risen from mortalhood and God's first man, Charlie is the son of the Morning Star and Lilith, two of the first beings God created as well. I mean, obviously the second human he created, and one of the first angels, depending on which version of the lore you're looking at. And when I say that, I'm talking about outside of show lore. Whether he was created as an angel, I don't know if Vizzy Pop's ever actually answered that. If so, I have not been told the answer. So if you know that and know the source, please post it below. I'd be fascinated to read that, just as a lore dump. But the main difference I see in their capabilities is that Adam is more experienced at fighting, and that's because he's been through all these exterminations, and even as a human he probably had to do his share of fighting after the Apple fiasco, whereas Charlie really hasn't done a lot of fighting. For what we see, it's mainly singing, and if she's done any, it's been verbal. So even though she has gone into her demon form before, she's never really fought in it, so that inexperience comes to play a bunch of times throughout the fight. Like, she gets a good hit on Adam a couple times, then he bounces back, and then he's finally going to strangle her. Now this happens after Vaggie has injured Loot and is going back to save her, and then Vaggie gets knocked out by Loot again, and this is where Lucifer finally shows up. Now there is a lot of speculation and theorizing about why it takes Lucifer that long to show up, but I go with the theory that the main reason he did not show up before was because of the deal he had with Heaven, was he could not directly interfere on Extermination Day unless they were going back on their deal. And since Hellborn, including her, were protected by it, technically Lucifer could not interfere until Adam or one of the other exterminators was reneging on the deal. And in that moment, since Adam was reneging on the deal and was trying to actively kill Charlie, free game. And he gets a punch in the face. And Lucifer takes Adam to school royally. Like, the difference in their capabilities is, I say, the same. The only difference is I'd say Lucifer has more power since he's a natural born angel, and two, the frickin' Morning Star. And I love how he constantly is shape-shifting and just making a fool and a mockery of Adam in the dialogue. Well, your first wife. Oh, that's shots fired right there, Lucifer. Shots fired. And of course, this is following the moment that got turned into so many memes and so many cosplay TikToks. How many of you do have to fight? Well, I'm the only one that matters, and this time I'm going to fuck you. And of course, Val finally speaks up. Well, this just got interesting. What makes it is the look on Adam's face right afterwards, and then everyone else's reaction, including Angel Dust just lifting one eyebrow, and even all the exterminators are like, huh? And Charlie sneaks in. It's fuck you up, Dad. Wait, what'd I say? I like the joke version though. He's like, I meant what I said. And then following up with that thing from earlier in the show. And then we fucked and it was great. Well, that'd be one way to end the battle, but of course, that's just a joke way. It wouldn't actually happen in the show. And of course, Adam ends up getting his butt kicked. And in the end, it's a combination of both Lucifer and Charlie. And Charlie's the one that ends up pulling Lucifer back when he starts to go a little bit too far, which really is in keeping with her character, her compassion, that even someone as messed up as Adam, once he is beaten, he deserves that mercy. And of course, he gets up and he's mad at the mercy, and he starts pointing at everybody saying, you know, I'm Adam, I'm the freaking man. All of mankind came from these nuts. You all should be worshipping me. Really shows his ego. And of course, his monologuing is his undoing, because he gets stabbed in the back by Nifty, and boom, he's gone. And after he's gone, Lute, of course, runs to his side. And I love the fact that he smiles looking up at her. There is also a lot of theorizing about what that smile could mean. I like the theory that he's smiling up at Lute because at the end of everything, the third important woman in his life was there at the end and did not run out on him. I think about it. First there was Lilith. Their whole thing did not work out. Then there was Eve. Their relationship was fruitful, but we don't know what happened to them after the apple incident. We don't really know because I don't know if it's been commented officially on. And now, of course, Lute. What the nature of their relationship is, the show kind of is dancing around it at this point, other than that they're partners. You know, there's a whole fan thing about them being in a relationship and all that. And then, of course, one side thing from the leak that I'm not going to talk about. But even if it's just a platonic relationship, she was there for him at the end. So that smile could be that. It's like, at least I got to see you one last time, Danger Tits. He doesn't say anything, but you can kind of read that type of perspective into it. And then he's gone. And of course the exorcists retreat, and then we get the ending. Penchas is gone, Adam's gone. Kind of interesting, both of Alec Brightman characters died in the battle. We get the ending thing. Now, I've kind of skipped over the first song. This is earlier in it when they're doing The Night Before. And that is a reprise of More Than Anything. Whereas the original one is sung as a father-daughter song between Charlie and Lucifer. The reprise is a romantic song between Charlie and Vaggie. And other than when I first watched it, I kind of slept on this song for a little bit until I started re-listening to more songs on the soundtrack. And I'm like, oh my god, this song. It made me cry the first time I re-listened to it. Just because it really does talk about their relationship, and it shows that at this point they're cool with one another after everything that happened in the previous episode. And I love the line that Vaggie says in it, and if in the end it's only me you saved. Which, of course, is the logical thing with that is that she saved her by bringing her back to health. But you could also say that it saved her viewpoint on sinners and her outlook on life in general. And of course they tell each other that they love each other more than anything, and then of course they kiss. It's a very tender moment in the show. And then the finale one kind of wraps up the storylines, where part of it musically is a throwback to Happy Day in Hell, just melody slightly tweaked, and of course some of the vocal lines similar. And then it goes into them fixing up the hotel, and just look at the animation, something I caught. I was like, is that a Keyblade that Lucifer is using? He's one of the chosen ones? Wow, that's OP hacks right there. They rebuild the hotel, and it's even better than ever. Of course, we get a little foreshadowing that the V's are up to no good, and from what Vizzy-Pop has even confirmed outside of this, they're going to be the main villains in the next season. So that setting that up in the song's good, and then of course showing Alistair is still there. He didn't die, it's just he's probably weakened considering his staff is now broken, but we'll have to wait and see for the next season, see just by how much. Maybe it's just his focus that is broken, which is why he retreated, because he might still have all that power. He just can't focus it properly without his staff. Which is like, are you Alistair, overlord of microphones? And then of course after the song is over and we get some nice little thoughts to end on, but also a little bit of notes about what the next season could bring, we get two little revelations. That one, Serpentius is not fully gone. He actually redeemed himself and ascended into heaven in an all new white outfit, new snake hoodie thing. And not only did he ascend into heaven, he went directly past the gates and manifested himself in front of Sarah and in front of Emily. They don't have any dialogue, but their reactions speak wonders, where Sarah has a what the fuck look on her face, like she's completely baffled. And Emily is lighting up all excitedly like the angelic cinnamon roll that she is. So she's like, and I think part of that is that she sees that Charlie's idea was correct. Souls can be redeemed. And that's all I'm going to comment on that. And then the last one, of course, is the revelation of where Lilith has been this whole time. She's been up in heaven, chillaxing on a heavenly beach. Apparently because she had to deal with Adam, which I wonder how that conversation to get that deal happened. Well, Luke, now that she's in charge of these Terminators, goes up, tells Lilith that their deal's over and she needs to go down to hell and deal with her daughter. And that is how the season ends. And with that, it's like, ooh, the plot thickens. So what could happen now that Lilith is back in the picture? It's going to be interesting next season, even if it is only 8 episodes again. I would love it to be a little bit longer so we get a little bit more drama, but even at 8 episodes, it would be interesting. I know they haven't cast Lilith or announced one, even though I've heard Lady Gaga is the big casting choice that Vizzy-Pop wants for it, but even if it's not her, if they get someone comparable for that type of character, it would be interesting. I'd love to see a duet between her and Lucifer in the show, if not her and Charlie, but we'll see how things go once we get to season 2. But on the whole, season 1 is definitely a fun revisit. I mean, there's been like a couple of things I brought up with pacing and all that wise, but it doesn't hurt to the point where I'm going to say Amazon ruined the show, and I'm even still over here scratching my head going, how? Like always, if you have your reasons for it, put it in the comments below. Of course, depending on it, I might disagree with it, but we at least talk about it. As long as you guys keep it respectful on your ends, I'll keep it respectful on my end. And of course, that is all I have to talk about with this show for now. So until season 2 drops, or I decide to go delve into its brother show, Has Hell of a Boss. Till next time, everybody.